Well, I wanted to get on and make a video. This is a special time of year for me. No, it's not Christmas. It's almost more wonderful than that for me because one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given, I got on the 27th. Yeah, on the 27th of August, 5 years ago, which I wasn't sure that 5 years was going to make a difference. Um, the first year was kind of a big deal. I was coming off it, but this fifth year has been a big deal. And I kind of wanted to talk about the medical side of things. There were two things that happened in 2017. One that happened May 5th, and then another thing that happened on the 21st, 27th, and then 5 days after that. And so that's what I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about the physical end of everything. So here we go. If some of you watched some of my earlier videos, there was an incident with the bridge. And I jumped off a bridge. And wasn't that celebratory? But anyway, when I jumped, the river was in flood, Mississippi River. And so it was higher than normal. This bridge had been shut down because of flooding. Not that it would take the bridge out, but it's an old bridge. And just extra ounce of caution. Since I've been this area 30 plus years, it's been shut twice. So it's not something that they do lightly. Because Mississippi River bridges around the cities, there's several. But as you get away from the cities, they're sparse. And this bridge lies between maybe 100 miles to either the other bridges. So it's the only bridge in between. So it'd be like 50 miles to the bigger city, 50 miles to another big bridge. So it's important bridge. And anyway, so I went there. I jumped off of it. It was not a whole lot of getting myself up and standing there. It was more like and fall. And when I fell, I landed on my butt, but it was more on the left cheek. And I know I nailed my arm, and the back of my head had the impact. I went down into the water. It hurt. It was the worst spanking I've ever had in my life. It hurt. And the water was cold. And this is on May 5th. For some reason, I thought the water would not be so stinking cold, but it was freezing. And I literally came up out of that water laughing. One, because I somehow thought that the jump would kill me. And two, that the water was so cold. So I'm in the water and got a discussion going on with God. Do you really want to die? And all this. And I said, no. I said, but I'm here in the water. He says, well, if you want to live, I can help you get out of this. And so luckily I had not broken my legs. And, the cold was a problem. I turned my head to look kind of back because on the Illinois side, there was a town and stuff, along the riverbank. On the Missouri side, there was nothing. Okay. And so I would turn, but as I turned, I think I'm putting this together now, but I would see like shooting stars. And I literally thought that they were shooting stars, but they weren't as high as shooting stars. And, there was one and then, it'd be a few more. And so, but it kind of hurt to turn that way. So, I kind of didn't do it that much. And I thought, well, if I get through this, I'm going to be handicapped. I'll be in a wheelchair or something, thinking that I had really done something bad to my spine because I already was, prior to that, working towards getting back surgery. And I'm like, well, I've really done it now, kind of thought. And so, I just figured that if I did live through this, I would be in a wheelchair. So that's that. Um, I was able to swim, and then I was able to be rescued. And, when they rescued me, got me in the ambulance, I was in the water for 2 hours. I went 5 miles. My body temperature was 34 degrees. It was probably 32 at the scene, but that ambulance she had warming up. So that helped a lot. Anyway, so I was at this little town hospital. It's not a little town, but a small town hospital. And they did everything they were supposed to do. I had to fight for an x-ray because he saw me get up and use the restroom. The doctor did, because I was right across from the nurse's station. And so he figured if I could get up and do that, then I wasn't broken, you know. But I knew that I had injured myself. And I didn't know that, I was more thinking, my lower back. And I threw a fit, and he took an x-ray of my hips, and I did not break my hips, which is amazing. I didn't break my legs. I didn't break anything. I didn't break anything. And I don't know the height. I would say anywhere from 50 to 75 feet is how much I fell. So, and it did damage. I was black and purple and blue from my waist down to my ankles. I was on the back side of my body. It was just unbelievable. And anyway, I lived through it, and was getting attention and help, and medical attention. That's the whole thing, was not for attention, but now I'm getting medical attention from a ER nurse that was all tough love, but she loved me like a mama bear. So, anyway, I needed to be transferred to another hospital, and the ambulance drivers, because it was like almost 24 hours by the time I got transferred, and the ambulance driver, I think it's the same guy, because he transferred me from the river to that hospital, him and this woman, and he was standing there with the EMT female, and of course they're cutting my clothes off in like 2 seconds, and he's standing there looking. Okay, in my mind, I thought he was trying to look at my naked body, but now I know he wanted to see the bruises. He wanted to see what happened. But I caught his eye, and I gave him a shame on you look, and he left. Now, this is a guy that I believe was a driver for my transfer. And there was another EMT with him, not the female, a guy. And so we're transferring me to this other town, and it's probably 50 miles away. And this driver is stomping on the gas at stop signs. I don't think we hit a light. It was all backcountry driving. Stomping on the brakes at stop signs, and then gunning it. And I was kind of reclining on the gurney, or whatever you call that thing. And he did this so much that I'm sliding off this gurney. And we had to stop 2 times to reposition me. And you need to keep in mind that my whole backside of my body is broken. I may not have something that shows up in an x-ray, but I am so injured. I asked them if they could, if I could lay on my stomach for the ride. They couldn't do that. I had to lay on my back or sit, and, we'd get me repositioned, and he'd start out again doing the same damn thing. And, stop, have to reposition again. I mean, my feet are hanging off the gurney. And so you get me situated the second time, took off again. Anyway, the guy in the back and I were talking. He put music I liked on. He was nice. And then the guy did this stomp and start again. And I screamed the F word. And I was so mad. And after I screamed that, he didn't do it anymore. He drove pleasantly nice the rest of the way. And it was just like, are you trying to kill me? And I was in the hospital for 5 days, and I could sit in the common area for a little bit. and then I had to go lay down because I just could not sit. And other people bring their pillows, and so I had like this nest, and I would sit on all these pillows, and but even then I could only sit for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I have to go lay down on my bed, and even that hurt. And so yeah, I was a broken toy. It took a while for my bruising to go down, and then with the bruising, there was uh, my body after I was home. It was like now my skin's turn to react, and my skin took probably 2 or 3 weeks. I could only have like silk touch it if it had to. It just was, it was painful. I always felt like I deserved whatever pain I got from it. So I didn't really bellyache about it too much. Then I had my heart attack. Okay, so that was on May 5th. I had my heart attack on August 21st. Now, I'd been to the hospital a couple days before because I'd been swimming aggressively and my heart felt bad. And we ended up taking me there because my heart was just bad and it just was continuing to be bad. Went to the ER. Doctor's like, I don't know, you're having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, no, this isn't anxiety. So I came home. That was on a Saturday. On that Monday, I had my heart attack. And I had it early in the morning. I got up, just felt like ugh, stomach, not feel good. I threw up. I threw up blood. I'm like, oh, something must be wrong. I'm thinking my stomach, and I didn't feel good all day. My neck hurt, like hurt. Not your bones. It just hurt in my neck and like between my shoulder blades in the back. And yeah, my left arm was fine. And like I didn't feel gripping on my chest, but it was back and neck and my stomach. Like I didn't eat that whole day because I knew if I ate that I'd throw up again or do something bad. And so that was at 7 in the morning that I had the heart attack. But since I'd been to the hospital on Saturday, he said it's not cardiac. Um, I didn't go to the hospital. We had a little eclipse party and it was just miserable. My husband all day is, can I take you? My friends, can I take you? I'm like, no, no, no. I'll just feel better. And finally, a friend of mine came and got me from another town to take me because I was just being so stubborn. And yeah, I in fact was having a heart attack. And my memory kind of goes a little dark there. I know that they took me to a cath lab. I don't know anything about anything. I know that they took me there, and that's all I know. But apparently, I was in there. So that Monday, I had the heart attack. On Friday, they did a triple bypass. On Thursday, I had another heart attack. They'd scheduled the bypass for Friday afternoon when I'd had a second heart attack. They decided to move that surgery up till morning. So I got my triple bypass that morning. And apparently, when it was done, my heart stopped. After they were done with the surgery, I went into cardiac arrest. I know that because the ER doc is a good friend of mine. And so because he's ER, they're the ones that respond to codes. So he responded to a code with one of his guys. And he got me going, my heart going again and all that. And so there you go. I don't remember anything from Saturday or that Sunday. But apparently on that Saturday, I just was uncomfortable, I guess. And then Sunday, I don't know. And then they took these things out, pacers or something. I don't know what it was. Or tubes. They took tubes out or something. Anyway, when they did that, my husband says that's when I went into cardiac arrest and then my heart completely stopped. And that's when they did the compressions on me. The story is that my nurse's aide, I'll call her, I don't know what their names are now, but she jumped up on top of the bed and straddled me and was doing CPR on me. She did CPR, or CPR was done. She rode the gurney on top of me all the way down to the cath lab, which is in the basement. And we were on the second or third floor. Anyway, she was doing it for a very long time. That girl saved my life. And the story is I was gone for 35 minutes. They'd get me back, but then I'd code again and code again. And my husband's hearing these codes. He knows which room I'm in. The chaplain comes and looks for him by name, which, that makes him think that I'm gone now. And poor guy, what he went through. And after 35 minutes, they were able to bring me back. I don't remember what brought me back to life. I remember coming back to life, but what was happening on Earth, I don't remember. But I do remember the journey back to Earth, and I do remember sliding in to the left side of my body, and I was in a room, and I was back in this existence, and it was a pink room with billowing white curtains. Now, I've been in that room since to get a cath, and it is not pink. There are not billowy curtains. It is probably a light gray or light blue, and it's just medical equipment crammed in this small room. So I don't know what I was thinking, but it wasn't the room I thought I was in. And there's a woman, I can hear a woman with a Germanic accent, and she is not happy that he's not feeding right, and we have to shock her again, or however they say it. And so, bam! And it felt like being hit by a truck going 60 miles an hour. It was unbelievable. My eyes, the eyelids, right? Hit the back of my eyelids. My teeth rattled in my mouth. And it was like, oh, and it must have dazed me for a minute. And I came out and I'm like, and I'm there and I'm just like, like, what the heck happened? The first one, I guess I didn't really feel because I was coming back from dead. But the second one, I was back from dead and I felt she's not happy. She's not happy with something. And she says, we're going to have to do it again. And bam, I'm nailed again. And it's the same thing. It's like, you can feel the electricity hit your head. It's like, and it's hard. It's like somebody swinging a baseball bat and hit you right in the head. It's horrible. It's horrible. Now, normally they put you out a little bit for this, but from what she told me later is I was so touch and go that they could not do that. I had to be awake. Because I was just alive for like a minute. So, she wasn't happy again. And she says, we're going to have to do it again. And that's the point where I found my voice. And I said, no, no, no. I said, you're hurting me. Don't do it. No. And only thing I could see was her face. And I was just like, right here. And she's like, Mrs. Thales, I'm trying to save your life. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know what to say. And then she backs up and nailed me again. And that's the last thing I remember. I woke up 5 days later. But the story is after they got my heart going, so I was in tachycardia. So it was a deadly heartbeat. So that's why they're trying to write my heartbeat. And so they did get my heartbeat going and me all going again. And they wheeled me back up to my room. My husband went in the waiting room. They'll let you in as soon as we get her settled. And then he hears code blue for my room. So now my heart has stopped a third time. And, of course, they, get me back going again. And at this point, they decide to put me in a drug-induced coma, put me on a heart-lung machine, and, just hopefully I can, that my heart can rally. And so that's what they did. And they kept me in this drug-induced coma for 5 days. Of course, I don't remember any of that. I believe I was in a different place. I know I went to another place while I was dead. I don't know if I was able to, what I was able to do. I did feel like I was in a loving, wonderful place, if nothing else. But to sit there and tell you right down the line that I was laying in that bed consciously, or I was in heaven, or I was going back and forth, or what, I cannot tell you. Um, all I know is when I woke up, I had felt so much love. And I know that's when I was on the other side, but I feel like I had been cradled in it. Maybe the whole time I was in the coma. I don't know. But when I woke up, there was just, I had been just immersed in so much love. And, of course, I was intubated for all that time. And, I woke up and my mom's there, which was a shock to me. Of course, I really didn't even know where I was or anything. They said, "Do you know where you are?" I said, "I'm in a hospital," because it looked like a hospital room. "Do you know which hospital?" I'm like, "Union County Hospital," which is such a ridiculous thing. I've never been in that hospital. And I Southern drawl. I don't know why I thought I was in Union. She's like, "Nope, you're in our hospital." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, God," because our hospital is for this area is the most advanced hospital. And so I was really glad to be in our hospital. And anyway, um, but my mom, I said, "Hey, Mom," and she's like, "Here I am, who I am," and I'm like, "Mom." She's like, "Well, do you know your name?" I told her my name, and she asked me a couple other questions. I'm like, "What?" I said, "Do you think I'm retarded? What's going on?" And she says, "Well, we didn't know." And I'm like, because I had no idea anything. I don't even remember having a heart attack. Actually, I had no memory of anything really. My life started right then in a lot of ways. I didn't know anything before it. When people would meet me, they would have to introduce themselves unless I knew them for a long time. Apparently I'd been there all that time. I met the nurses and the doctors and all this, and they'd walk in. I had no clue who they were. No clue. And they come in, "Oh, I'm so glad you didn't," I'm like, "Thanks." You know, don't know who you are, but thank you, and these people have been caring for me. So I felt bad about that later. But anyway, she said, "Well, we didn't know, you had been gone for a while." And so I got bits and pieces about what had gone on, but I didn't get the whole story because I just really need to wrap my mind around being awake and stuff. I One of the things that I remember, um, and there's like smells and stuff that bring me back. Some are a little bit scary, but I try to rationalize it and not let it get big on me. But I do remember because I guess they would, if I became less dopey, they'd give me some more and dope me. They called it snow. Anyway, but I remember may have been light, and they're going to extubate me, means take the breathing tube out. And he says, "Okay, now we're going to have to do this slowly and all this." Well, in my mind's eye, there was a giant tank with this 10-foot pipe coming out of it that was going into my mouth and into my throat. And that's what my brain understood. And I mean, the tank was almost as big as the room. And so I had to just be okay with this big pipe going down my throat. And that was hard because everything in me, like not here, but like biologically, was wanting to get that thing out of my mouth because it's opposite to breathing. You can't breathe, you can't breathe, you can't breathe. Although you are breathing, you know what I mean? So just to have your mouth completely blocked is terrifying, and you can't do anything about it. Anyway, so I kind of had to wrap my mind around that. I just had to sit with it and let it happen and put my mind elsewhere and chill out. My friend was there, and I think she was holding my hand, and I was scratching with my finger, not scratching, but writing with my finger in her hand, DNR, DNR, DNR. And she says she felt me doing it, but she didn't know what I was doing. And And I think they drugged me probably through part of the extubation because I remember, kind of chilling out with the not freaking out. And then next thing I remember, I'm waking up later and my mom is there. So that whole thing about it being extubated is a bit scary. Uh, they uh, wanted me standing up the next day. I couldn't hold a cell phone. I couldn't almost hold my hands up. Like I had nothing. I had nothing. I couldn't hold my head up hardly. I just had nothing. Nothing, nothing. That was horrible. That was horrible. I was like I was like a total paralyzed person. I didn't have any power. Um, I could move my leg, so I wasn't paralyzed, but I didn't have the ability to lift it or to hold it up. It was just everything was too much on me. Um, there's this movie, Kill Bill, and she's been in a coma for 5 years. She comes out of the coma, she beats a guy up, drags herself out to the parking garage, climbs in a big old jacked up truck, wills herself back to life, and drives the truck away and gets in a fight. And it's just like, that's insane. That's insane. Uh, I think that was on Friday. I woke up. Sunday, I tried to walk on my own from the chair to the bed. I made it one step and fell face forward on my bed, and I couldn't do anything about it. I had to lay there and wait to be rescued. I didn't have anything, and there was no amount of mental will that was going to make it happen. Of course, she hadn't died, several times either, but movies, right? Hollywood. Um, anyway, they wanted me to stand. They had this huge guy. And so, with the belts and everything, and they got me to stand, and I stood, and then just immediately slumped onto him. Now I know why they brought the big guy. And then all I had to do is lay back down in bed, and the next day, my nurse comes, and she's like, that was on Sunday. We got to get you up, and stand. I'm like, okay, where's the big guy? She says, well, he's not working today. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? She's like, I can do it. And she was probably my height, but skinny, not bone skinny. She's in good shape. And I'm like, and I'm big person, not obscene big, but I'm big girl. And I'm like, I said, I'm too big for you. And she's like, I can do it. I work out. I can handle it. And I said, I don't know. Because I'm more worried about falling on her. And she says, well, if you don't want to do it, you can refuse, but I can handle this. And I'm like, okay. So they helped me get up, and she's standing there, and I stood for a few seconds and slumped right onto her. She braced her back foot. That bitch held my ass. She held me. And I freaking loved her after that. I was like, okay, you're legit. You're legit. And it was just a voyage of body stuff and things that they did to me. Needles, needles, needles. They come in and do a chest x-ray at like 4 a.m, cold hard board, click, gone, and I tried to be good natured, and I am good natured in the hospital, and made the best of it. And, just throw my arm out, get what you need, I had a lot of vision, dream kind of things that while I was there, and there was a smell there in the hospital. When I've been in the hospital since, it's a cleaning product. I think it's what they use when they mop. Anyway, that cleaning product, when I go to the hospital now and I'm in there, I smell that. It's a trigger. And it brings fear. I remember fear of being left alone. I've had dreams since where I was taken care of in a medical way, and my mom was there in the dream. Mike was there. And then I was left alone in a room, and I'm trying to tell people, I'm here, don't leave me alone, don't leave me alone. Um, that must have happened during my coma. And it was kind of a nightmare for a while. If not a nightmare, it was very scary. And it made me very uncomfortable. And I didn't want to have that dream again. I lived kind of in fear of that dream. My mind can trigger the smell of that mopping solution. Um, there's other like little things that are in there that once in a while will get me. I felt so blessed because I had no memory of any of it. It was harder on everybody who loves me and who is there for me than it was for me because I wasn't there. Gone. I had my friend one night after the coma because I was in there for another 5 or 7 days, 5 days. And they had a fire drill. We got locked in the room together, and I made her tell me what happened, because I just did not know. I'm getting a little piece of story from my mom, little piece from my husband, but nobody strung the whole necklace for me. And I never did regain the memory of that week that I was in there before my bypass. I in a coma, so I don't remember that week. And so all I really had was, the one I was in. Um, but I know that cardiac ICU is probably the creme de la creme in our hospital. It is impressive. It is state of the art. The care is unbelievable. And it's hard. I was looking at other patients, we all have to do our walk around the ward and everything. And everybody was tootling along pretty good. And I was having a hard time. There was a lady who was not doing well. She was a smoker and she had a really hard time. And then there was another person that died on our wing. And I don't know if that was her or who, but they closed our curtains and a gurney went by, a metal gurney. So, but me getting up and walking and moving again was hard, but I did it. And they tried to walk me that first day, and I got down to the other room and I had to turn around and go back. And the nurse said, "What happened?" Well, I had those hospital slippers on, which are slippery as hell. And I can't walk on a bare floor now. And I was only 3 months later after jumping off that bridge. Walking is horrible. And so I said, well, just let me try again later. So I called my husband. I had him bring my tennis shoes. Once I got my tennis shoes on, I was able to walk. And it wasn't as painful. I had a good sure grip and I was ready to go. And so I was able to do it with my tennis shoes on. I just needed that stability and that cushion. But yeah, my back, when I hit the water, your pelvis is like this. Here's your legs, here's your pelvis. That pelvis went, it twisted. The orthopedic said it was wickedly twisted. So I wrenched that when I hit and tore my rotator cuff. I know I hit my neck, but we never got into that. My ER doc friend said he would have definitely CAT scanned it in our hospital, but since we're in this little podunk hospital, they didn't do none of that. So they should have x-rayed, CT scan, because it was a head injury and as well. But if I turn this way, I get dizzy and I get off and I feel weird and feel like I'm going to pass out. I don't see stars anymore. So, but I lived through that. But to this day, walking has gotten harder and harder and harder and harder. Sitting has gotten harder and harder and harder. I can sit for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then I got to go lay down. I can't do it anymore. Walking is hard. And I've got such wicked arthritis throughout my body that in the winter, I just almost wish I wouldn't live through it because it's just horrible. It's not a life worth living. And but we're in the summer months. I don't have that arthritis hurting me as bad, so I'm taking what opportunities I can to walk and move. But I really can only walk so far. Started to use a cane a little bit. It's gonna happen. I'm so vain. I'm so proud, more proud than vain, um, because I don't want to be perceived as weak in my eyes and anyone else's eyes. I've always felt like I've had to, because of issues in my life, PTSD, that I have to be ready to fight at any moment. When I'm on a walker, when I'm on a cane, I'm not ready to fight. If I don't have those devices and I'm walking around, people don't know I'm broken, you know? But once they see those devices, I am now an easier mark. And that I don't like. So, but it is inevitable. I did not end up in a wheelchair like I thought. I didn't blow up my spine like I thought. Definitely didn't help it. But it is remarkable that I came out of that the way I did. But it definitely has taken its toll on me and my mobility. So my goal has been to lose weight so that I just have less on my structure for it to carry. So that's part of the medical stuff that I went through. Because of the shocks and how horrible they were, I have a DNR order, but I will and it can be provisional. So you're allowed to use epi on me. You can use life-saving measures on me, CPR. Only thing you're not allowed to do is shock me. I will not take cardioversion. I will not go through that again. I will not go through that, not just because I'm afraid of it. I do not live my life by fear. I don't. I never have. And it seems often if I've had fears, I've had to face them and overcome them. So I don't live that way. But my poor heart, if it's gone through all of this, and then my recent stint that gave my heart finally adequate blood flow. This poor heart had triple bypass surgery. And when that surgery was done, it still had the same amount of blood coming into it as it did before the surgery. The surgery did nothing for it. But it had had a heart attack on it. And it had a very big surgery done to it. And it kept on going. And it has kept me alive for 5 years like that. And then I got this carotid thing fixed that feeds the blood to my heart now. And I will live with whatever my heart blesses me with. But when my heart wants to stop, I'm going to honor my heart for the love and the devotion and the continual beating that she's given me. And I honor her. When she says I'm done, she's done. And I'm okay with that. My heart has allowed me to love beyond measure. It's allowed me to receive love, deep, wonderful love. And my heart has carried me through. And when she wants to go, I love her. She can go. And I'll go. I'll go back home. I'll go back home. And that's a good thing. Anyway, so that was those medical ones. I want to do another video on more medical stuff. I have been injured from head to toe, and I've had some funny and interesting and crazy medical stories. So share those another time. But in honor of my fifth birthday coming up, I'll be 5 years old on this earth again. And I just wanted to kind of put this out there. Love to you all. Take care of your hearts. I have had some, they're not ultrasounds, but something like that. I can't remember what they call it. And you can watch your heart beat. And those are the most spiritual tests I do. And I watch that heart just beat, 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 beat. And knowing that every time that heart beats, I live. And it is the most spiritual, wonderful thing ever. I love having those done. Anyway, take care of your heart. Take care of it because it's working for you. I love you all with all of my heart. Thanks.